The morning sun rose over New Eden Colony just like any other day. Jake Murphy walked through the settlement checking on the crops that fed nearly 3,000 people on this distant world. His 8-year-old daughter Lucy ran beside him, her small hands reaching up to touch the tall grain stalks. "Dad, when will these be ready?" Lucy asked, her bright eyes curious about everything around her. "Soon, sweetheart. Maybe 2 more weeks," Jake replied, ruffling her blonde hair. He loved these morning walks with his daughter. Life on New Eden was simple and peaceful, far from the busy worlds of human space. That peace ended at exactly 10:37 in the morning. Amy Rodriguez was working in the security office when her screens began flashing red warnings. She had been the colony's security chief for 5 years and had never seen anything like this. 3 large ships were dropping out of hyperspace above their world. "This is New Eden Colony to unknown vessels," Amy spoke into her communication device. "Please identify yourselves and state your business." The reply came in heavily accented English. "This is Zalathi trade vessel. We come for collection." Amy felt her stomach drop. She had heard stories about the Zalathi from other colonies. They were tall, green-skinned aliens who looked like walking lizards. They traded in many things across the galaxy, but their favorite trade was in living beings. "We have nothing for trade," Amy said quickly. "This is a farming colony. We grow food, nothing else." The alien voice laughed, a sound like glass breaking. "We not want your food, human. We want your small ones. Your children make good workers." Amy's blood turned cold. She immediately activated the colony's emergency alert system. Loud sirens began wailing across New Eden, warning everyone to take shelter. But it was too late. The Zalathi ships began landing in the main square. Each ship was the size of a building, their metal hulls gleaming in the sunlight. Large doors opened and tall alien figures walked out. They wore dark armor and carried strange weapons that hummed with energy. The lead alien was clearly their commander. He stood nearly 8 feet tall with bright green scales and yellow eyes that moved constantly. His name was Vexithar, though the humans would not learn this until later. "Where are the small humans?" Vexithar demanded in his broken English. "We know you have many. Our scans show 48 between ages 6 and 14. Jake heard the sirens and grabbed Lucy's hand. "We need to get home right now," he told her, trying to keep the fear out of his voice. They ran through the grain fields toward their house, but the Zalathi were faster. Flying vehicles swept over the colony, scanning with bright blue lights. When they found children, energy nets shot out and captured them before they could run. Lucy screamed as one of the nets wrapped around her small body. "Dad, help me!" Jake tried to grab his daughter, but an energy beam hit him and threw him backward. He could only watch in horror as Lucy was lifted into one of the flying vehicles. All across New Eden, the same scene played out. Children were torn from their parents' arms. Mothers cried and fathers fought desperately, but the alien weapons were too powerful. In less than 2 hours, 48 human children had been captured. Vexithar studied the crying humans with curiosity. In his long career as a slaver, he had captured young from many different species. The parents always made noise for a while, but they got over it quickly. That was how nature worked. The strong survived and the weak were taken. "Your small ones will have good lives," he told the assembled colonists. "They will work in our mining stations. They will be fed and sheltered. This is more than many species provide." "You can't take our children," shouted Mary Clark, whose twin boys had been captured. "They're just babies." Vexithar tilted his large head. "They are old enough to work. On my world, young of this age care for themselves. Your attachment is unusual." Amy Rodriguez had been working frantically at her security station. While the aliens were busy collecting children, she managed to plant a small tracking device on one of their ships. It was her only hope of finding where they would take the captured kids. The device was tiny, no bigger than a coin, but it could send signals across space for months. If human ships could follow the signal fast enough, there might be a chance to rescue the children. Jake stumbled to his feet, his body aching from the energy weapon. "Please," he begged Vexithar, "take me instead. Take all of us adults. Just leave the children." The alien commander looked genuinely confused. "Why would we want adult humans? You are too large for the work we need. Your small ones have quick fingers and small bodies. They can reach places adults cannot. They're children," Jake screamed. "They need their families." "They will adapt," Vexithar said simply. "All species do. In time, you will make new young ones to replace these." The aliens' words hit the humans like physical blows. To him, their children were just replaceable tools. He could not understand the bonds between human parents and their young. As the Zalathi prepared to leave, Vexthar made one final announcement. Do not follow us, humans. Your ships are slow and weak. By the time you could reach us, your small ones will be working productively in our minds. Accept this loss and move forward. The 3 ships rose into the sky, carrying 48 terrified human children away from everything they had ever known. The parents below could do nothing but watch and scream. Amy Rodriguez immediately sent out a priority distress call to every human world she could reach. The message was simple but desperate. Alien slavers have taken our children. 48 kids aged 6 to 14. We have a tracking signal. Please help us. As the alien ships vanished into hyperspace, Jake Murphy fell to his knees in the dirt where his daughter had been taken. Around him, other parents did the same. The peaceful farming colony of New Eden had become a place of grief and rage, but Vexthar had made a terrible mistake. He thought humans were like other species he had encountered. He thought they would cry for a while and then accept their loss. He had no idea what he had just awakened. The tracking signal Amy had planted began its journey across the galaxy, carrying with it the location of humanity's stolen children. And behind that signal would come something the Zalathi had never faced before, the full fury of a species that would do anything to protect their young. The hunt was about to begin. The distress call from New Eden reached Earth just 6 hours after the attack. Admiral Katie Blake was in her office at the United Earth Navy headquarters when the emergency message appeared on her screen. Katie had served in the military for 25 years. She had fought in 3 different wars and seen humanity at its worst and best, but as she read the report about 48 stolen children, her hands began to shake with anger. Get me the fleet commanders, she ordered her assistant, all of them, right now. Within the hour, every major human military leader was connected to an emergency conference call. The news spread quickly from there. Earth's communication networks carried the story to every human world in the galaxy. On Mars, Ben Carter was running his massive manufacturing complex when he got the news. Ben employed over 50,000 people making everything from farming equipment to spacecraft parts. He immediately called a meeting with his department heads. We're switching all production to military supplies, he announced. Weapons, armor, ship parts, whatever our people need to get those kids back. His production manager looked confused. Sir, we don't have any military contracts right now. We do now, Ben said firmly. And we're doing it for free. The story reached Dr. Lisa Parker at the University of Titan while she was teaching a class about alien biology. Lisa was one of humanity's top experts on non-human species. She knew more about alien behavior than almost anyone alive. When her students saw her reading the emergency bulletin, the classroom fell silent. Lisa's face had gone completely white. Class dismissed, she said quietly. I have work to do. Lisa immediately began pulling up every file she had on the Zalathi. She had studied them years ago as part of a research project on reptilian species. What she found made her stomach sick. The Zalathi were cold-blooded creatures who laid eggs and left them to hatch alone. They had no emotional bonds with their young. To them, offspring were just another resource to be used efficiently. They have no idea what they've done, Lisa whispered to herself as she prepared her report for the military. Meanwhile, across human space, a different kind of mobilization was happening. Nick Torres was a retired Marine living on Europa when he heard about New Eden. His own 15-year-old son, Danny, had been visiting relatives on a nearby world that week. Nick immediately called his son to make sure he was safe. Then he started calling his old military friends. They took kids, Pete, he said to his former squad leader. Babies, some as young as 6 years old. I heard, Pete replied grimly. My daughter's safe on Earth, but that could have been her. We need to do something, Nick said. The government will take too long to organize. Those kids need help now. What are you thinking? I'm thinking every parent in the military needs to know this could happen to their kids next. I'm thinking we don't wait for orders. Within hours, Nick had contacted hundreds of former military personnel. The message was always the same. Alien slavers had taken human children, and the official response might be too slow. By the end of the first day, over 3,000 former soldiers had volunteered for an unofficial rescue mission. They began gathering on Titan, where they could organize without government interference. Ambassador Helen Foster was attending a diplomatic conference on the neutral world of Sanctuary when she heard the news. Helen had spent 10 years trying to build good relationships between humanity and other galactic species. She immediately requested an emergency meeting with representatives from the Galactic Trade Consortium, the organization that governed most commerce between star systems. "This is an act of war," Helen told the alien diplomats. "The Zalathi have attacked a peaceful human colony and kidnapped our children." The consortium's representative was a blue-skinned humanoid named Quartoth. He looked at Helen with what might have been sympathy. "Ambassador Foster, I understand your species' emotional response. However, the action you describe is not technically illegal under galactic law. The Zalathi were engaging in resource acquisition from a pre-spaceflight colony." Helen stared at him. "Resource acquisition? These are children we're talking about. Yes, young biological entities suitable for labor purposes. Many species trade in such resources." "Young biological entities?" Helen's voice was getting louder. "They're kids. They have families who love them." Quartoth looked confused. "Love is a chemical reaction designed to ensure species survival. Surely your people understand that losing some offspring is natural. Your species can produce new young to replace those taken." Helen felt something cold and terrible settle in her chest. She was looking at a room full of aliens who saw human children as nothing more than convenient tools. "You're saying this is legal?" she asked quietly. "Perfectly legal. The Zalathi have all proper trading permits. The target species had not achieved spaceflight status, so they have no legal protections under consortium law." Helen stood up slowly. "Then the law needs to change. Laws take time to modify, Ambassador. Perhaps several years of committee review and voting." "We don't have several years," Helen said. "Those children are suffering right now." She left the meeting knowing that diplomacy had failed. The galactic community saw nothing wrong with stealing human children. If anything was going to save those kids, it would have to come from humanity itself. Back on Earth, the news networks were broadcasting the story constantly. Video messages from the families of captured children played over and over. Jake Murphy appeared on every major channel, holding a picture of his daughter Lucy. "Her name is Lucy Murphy," he said, his voice steady despite his tears. "She's 8 years old. She likes to draw pictures of flowers and she wants to be a teacher when she grows up. She's not a resource. She's not a tool. She's my little girl and I want her back." The video went viral across human space. Within days, everyone had seen Jake's face and heard his words. The image of little Lucy Murphy became a symbol of every stolen child. Dr. Lisa Parker finished her report on the Zalathi and sent it to Admiral Katie Blake. The military briefing was clear and terrifying. The Zalathi saw young members of other species as perfectly acceptable workers. They had been doing this for centuries with dozens of different alien races. "The Zalathi don't understand emotional bonds between parents and offspring," Lisa wrote. "They expect the human parents to simply accept this loss and move on. They have no concept of how humans actually respond to threats against their children." Admiral Katie Blake read the report and felt a chill run down her spine. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They thought they were just taking some convenient workers. They had no idea they had just declared war on the most protective species in the galaxy. Katie began issuing orders immediately. Every available human warship was to prepare for emergency deployment. Every military base was to begin producing weapons and supplies for a rescue mission. But even as the official military response organized, the unofficial response was growing faster. Nick Torres and his volunteers were gathering ships and weapons on Titan. Ben Carter's factories were working around the clock to produce supplies. Across human space, ordinary people were demanding action. The Zalathi had taken human children expecting no real response. They thought they were dealing with just another primitive species that would quietly accept their loss. They were about to learn how very wrong they were. Captain Ryan Mitchell stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, watching as his battle group prepared to enter hyperspace. 12 human warships had been assembled in record time, all following the tracking signal that Amy Rodriguez had planted on the Zalathi slaver ship. Ryan was a career military officer who had served for 15 years. He had fought pirates and defended trade routes across human space. But this mission was different. This was personal for every human in the fleet. "Signal strength is holding steady," reported his communications officer. "The tracking device is still active." "Good," Ryan said grimly. How long until we reach the signal's location? 4 days at maximum speed, sir. Ryan nodded. 4 days felt like forever when children were suffering, but it was the fastest any human ship had ever traveled across that much space. The tracking signal led them through 3 different star systems before they found their first target. It wasn't the main slaver base, but it was something just as valuable. A Zalathi supply convoy. 6 ships, reported the tactical officer. Looks like food and equipment supplies. Ryan made his decision quickly. All ships attack formation. We're taking prisoners. The battle was short and brutal. The Zalathi had not expected to find human warships in this remote system. Their convoy was designed for carrying supplies, not fighting wars. Within an hour, Ryan was standing face to face with the captured Zalathi captain. The alien was nearly 8 feet tall with dark green scales and angry yellow eyes. You attack peaceful traders, the alien hissed. This is illegal under galactic law. So is kidnapping children, Ryan replied coldly. Where are they? The Zalathi captain looked confused. Where are what? The human children your people stole from New Eden Colony. Where are they being held? Ah, the new workers. They are at Processing Station Omega-7. Very secure facility. You will never reach them. Ryan felt his anger grow. The alien was talking about 48 terrified kids like they were cargo. Tell me where the station is located. The Zalathi captain laughed, a harsh sound like breaking glass. Why would I help you? Your young ones will work well in our mines. Small fingers, quick learning. Very valuable. Ryan turned to his security chief. Get Dr. Parker on the communication channel. I think our guest needs to understand something about human nature. Dr. Lisa Parker appeared on the ship's main screen, broadcasting from her laboratory on Titan. She looked directly at the captured Zalathi captain. I've studied your species for years, she said calmly. You lay eggs and abandon them. You have no emotional bonds with your offspring. You don't understand what you've done. The alien captain looked annoyed. We have taken workers from dozens of species. This is normal trade. Not with humans, Lisa said. Humans are mammals. We form permanent bonds with our young. We will fight to the death to protect them, and when you take our children, you don't just anger their parents. You anger every human in the galaxy. Emotional weakness, the captain said dismissively. No, Lisa replied. Emotional strength. And it's about to destroy your entire species. The captain was quiet for a moment. Then he gave them the location of Processing Station Omega-7. Meanwhile, back in human space, the mobilization was growing beyond anything anyone had expected. Nick Torres and his volunteer force had grown to over 10,000 former military personnel. Ben Carter's factories were producing weapons and ship modifications faster than ever before. But the most important work was being done by Carlos Martinez, a brilliant engineer working on Luna Base. Carlos had volunteered to find ways to make human weapons more effective against Zalathi technology. Carlos worked 18 hours a day, taking apart captured Zalathi equipment and studying their defenses. What he found gave him an idea that would change everything. Their shields work by detecting incoming energy signatures, he explained to Admiral Katie Blake over a secure communication channel. But they're calibrated for known weapon types. If we modify our plasma cannons to fire in irregular patterns, their shields won't know how to compensate. How long to modify our fleet weapons? Katie asked. I can have the specifications ready in 6 hours. Every human ship can install the modifications using standard equipment. Do it, Katie ordered. The modifications spread through the human fleet like wildfire. Every warship, every transport vessel, even civilian ships began installing Carlos's improvements. Within days, humanity had created an entirely new type of weapon system. Dr. Patricia Davis was another key figure in the growing rescue effort. Patricia was a child psychologist who specialized in helping young people recover from trauma. Admiral Katie Blake had asked her to prepare for what they might find when they reached the captured children. Patricia's report was heartbreaking. She described the psychological damage that children would suffer from being separated from their families and forced to work in alien mining facilities. These kids will be terrified and confused, she wrote. They'll think their parents abandoned them. They'll be surrounded by creatures they've never seen before, forced to do work their small bodies aren't designed for. The report was distributed to every human ship in the rescue fleet. By the time the crews finished reading it, there wasn't a single person who wasn't ready to fight to the death for those children. Captain Ryan Mitchell's battle group continued following the tracking signal deeper into Zalathi space. They encountered 2 more convoys and captured more prisoners. Each interrogation revealed more details about Processing Station Omega-7. The station was a massive asteroid facility that had been hollowed out and converted into a slave processing center. Thousands of captured beings from dozens of different species were held there, sorted by age and species, then shipped out to various work sites across Zalathi territory. "How many human children are there?" Ryan demanded from the latest captured captain. 48 from your farming world," the alien replied. "But there are others. We have collected human young ones from 12 different worlds over the past 2 years." Ryan felt his blood turn cold. 12 different worlds? "Yes, your species is very useful. Small, adaptable, intelligent enough to follow orders, but not intelligent enough to escape." The alien had no idea how wrong he was about human intelligence, and he was about to find out just how dangerous it was to underestimate humanity. Back on the home worlds, the news about other captured human children sent shockwaves through every human community. This wasn't just about New Eden anymore. This was about a systematic campaign to enslave human children across the galaxy. Ambassador Helen Foster tried one more time to work through diplomatic channels. She requested another emergency meeting with the Galactic Trade Consortium. "The Zalathi have been stealing human children from multiple worlds," she told the assembled alien diplomats. "This is not an isolated incident. This is organized child trafficking." Quartoth, the consortium representative, looked at his notes. "The Zalathi have proper permits for all their trading activities. If your species objects to this commerce, you may file a formal complaint." "How long does a formal complaint take to process?" "Usually 18 to 24 months for initial review." Helen stood up and looked around the room at all the alien faces. "In 24 months, those children will be dead from overwork or broken beyond repair. We need action now." "The consortium cannot make exceptions to established procedures," Quartoth said firmly. Helen walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. "Then you leave us no choice but to handle this ourselves." As she left the diplomatic conference, Helen sent a message to Admiral Katie Blake. "Diplomacy has failed. Military action is authorized. The hunt for humanity's children was about to become a war." Processing Station Omega-7 hung in the darkness of space like a metal mountain. The huge asteroid had been completely hollowed out and converted into a massive slave processing facility. Thousands of captured beings from across the galaxy were held inside its metal walls. Captain Ryan Mitchell stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, looking at the station through his ship's main viewer. Around him, the largest human battle fleet ever assembled prepared for attack. 57 warships, hundreds of volunteer vessels, and thousands of angry humans ready to fight for their children. "All ships report ready, sir," his communications officer announced. Ryan opened a channel to the entire fleet. "This is Captain Mitchell to all ships. Today we bring our children home. Today we show the galaxy what happens when you threaten human families." Inside Processing Station Omega-7, Commander Vexthar was reviewing the latest shipment manifests when his security chief rushed into his office. "Sir, we have a problem. Human warships are approaching the station." Vexthar looked up from his paperwork, annoyed. "How many ships?" "Our sensors count 57 military vessels, sir, plus several hundred civilian craft." Vexthar's yellow eyes widened. "Impossible. Humans don't have that many warships. They appear to have converted civilian vessels to military use, sir. And, sir, they're broadcasting a message. Put it on the main screen." Captain Ryan Mitchell's face appeared on Vexthar's monitor. The human looked tired but determined. "This is Captain Ryan Mitchell of the United Earth Navy, to the commander of Processing Station Omega-7. You are holding human children captured from New Eden Colony and other human worlds. Release them immediately and surrender your facility." Vexthar activated his response transmitter. "This is Commander Vexthar. Your young ones are legal property under galactic trade law. You have no authority here. Leave immediately or face destruction." Ryan's expression didn't change. "Commander, you have 60 seconds to begin releasing the children. After that we attack," Vexthar laughed. "Attack? You are outnumbered. I have 40 battle cruisers defending this station. Your small fleet cannot hope to defeat us." "We'll see about that," Ryan said quietly and cut the transmission. Vexthar immediately called for his defense fleet. The 40 Zalathi warships moved into protective formation around the station. They were larger and more heavily armed than the human vessels. By all military logic, the humans should retreat, but human logic was different when children were involved. The battle began with the humans doing something no Zalathi commander had ever seen before. Instead of careful, organized attacks, the human ships came straight at them with reckless fury. All ships, Carlos Martinez's weapon modifications are active, Ryan announced. Target their shield generators first. The modified human weapons tore through Zalathi shields like they were made of paper. The aliens had never faced weapons that changed their energy patterns in mid-flight. Their defensive systems couldn't adapt fast enough. Within the first hour, 12 Zalathi warships had been destroyed. The humans lost only 3 vessels, and those crews had evacuated safely. Vexthar watched the battle in growing horror. The humans were fighting like creatures possessed. When one human ship was disabled, another would immediately move to protect it. When they ran low on ammunition, civilian vessels would dart in to resupply them under enemy fire. "Sir, we're receiving reports from inside the station," his security chief reported. "The humans aren't just attacking our ships, they're jamming our internal systems." Technical specialist Mary Clark was aboard one of the human ships, working frantically at her computer station. Mary had volunteered for the mission because she had 2 young daughters at home. The thought of them being captured and enslaved drove her to work, harder than she ever had before. "I'm into their computer network," she announced to Captain Ryan. "Downloading. Station layouts and prisoner locations now." Mary's hack revealed the full horror of processing Station Omega-7. The facility held over 8,000 captured beings from 43 different species. Children, teenagers, and young adults were sorted into different sections based on their intended use. The human children were in Section 7 Beta, along with young beings from several other mammalian species. Mary's scans showed 48 humans from New Eden, plus 73 other human children captured from different worlds over the past 2 years. "Captain, I found them," Mary reported. 121 human kids total. "But sir, there are thousands of other children from different species." Ryan felt something cold settle in his stomach. This wasn't just about human children anymore. The Zalathi were enslaving young beings from dozens of different worlds. "Can you unlock the holding cells?" "Working on it now, sir." Jake Murphy was aboard one of the volunteer ships in the human fleet. When Admiral Katie Blake had announced that civilian volunteers could join the rescue mission, Jake had been the first to sign up. He would do anything to get his daughter Lucy back. "All civilian vessels prepare for boarding operations," Captain Ryan announced. "We're going into that station to get our children." The boarding assault began 20 minutes later. Human Marines and volunteers cut through the station's outer hull in dozens of places simultaneously. The Zalathi had never faced an attack like this before. They were used to careful, organized military operations, not desperate parents fighting for their children. Steve Johnson led one of the boarding teams through the station's corridors. Steve was a veteran Marine whose own son was safe on Earth, but every child in this facility was now his responsibility. "Zalathi guards ahead," reported one of his Marines. "Take them down," Steve ordered. "Non-lethal if possible, but don't take any chances." The human boarding teams moved through the station like an unstoppable force. When they encountered resistance, they fought with terrifying intensity. When they found captured children, they became gentle protectors. Jake Murphy was with the team that reached Section 7 Beta. The sight that greeted them would haunt him for the rest of his life. Hundreds of young beings from dozens of different species were crowded into small metal cells. The conditions were terrible. The children were dirty, scared, and obviously underfed. "Lucy," Jake called out as he ran through the holding area. "Lucy, where are you?" He found her in Cell 7 Beta 23, huddled with 3 other human children. Lucy was thinner than when he had last seen her, and her clothes were dirty and torn. "But she was alive, Daddy," Lucy whispered as if she couldn't believe he was real. "I'm here, baby," Jake said, tears running down his face as he broke open the cell door. "Daddy's here." Throughout Section 7 Beta, similar reunions were taking place. Human parents and volunteers were finding children they had lost, children they had never met, and children from other species who had no one to save them. Mary Clark, still working at her computer station, made a decision that would change everything. Instead of just freeing the human children, she unlocked every cell in the entire facility. "All prisoners are free," she announced over the communication system. All holding cells are now unlocked. Captain Steve Johnson found himself face-to-face with Commander Vexthar in the station's command center. The Zalathi commander was nearly 8 feet tall and heavily armed, but he looked confused and frightened. "Why do you care about the other species young?" Vexthar demanded. "They are not your offspring." Steve looked at the alien with disgust. "Because they're children. Because they're scared and alone and they need help. This makes no sense. You should only protect your own genetic offspring." "That's the difference between us," Steve said as his team restrained the alien commander. "We protect all children." The battle for Processing Station Omega-7 ended after 6 hours. The Zalathi defense fleet had been completely destroyed. The station was under human control, and over 8,000 captured beings had been freed. But Captain Ryan Mitchell knew this was just the beginning. As news of the rescue spread across the galaxy, other species began reaching out to humanity. They had lost their own children to slavers over the years. They wanted help getting them back. Vexithar, now a prisoner aboard the UES Vengeance, finally began to understand what his species had unleashed. The humans weren't just angry about their own children. They were angry about all children being enslaved. "Your species will burn the galaxy down for young ones that aren't even your own," he said to Captain Ryan during interrogation. "If that's what it takes," Ryan replied simply. As the human fleet prepared to leave Processing Station Omega-7 with their rescued children, Jake Murphy held his daughter Lucy close. She was safe now, but she was changed. They all were. The galaxy had learned that there were some lines you didn't cross with humanity, and threatening their children was the biggest line of all. 3 months after the liberation of Processing Station Omega-7, Ambassador Helen Foster stood before the largest gathering of alien species in galactic history. Representatives from over 200 different worlds had come to Earth to witness something that had never happened before: the signing of the Galactic Child Protection Accords. The video footage from the rescue mission had spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Every species had seen human soldiers fighting desperately not just for human children, but for all children. They had watched humans risk their lives to save young beings they had never met from species they barely knew. The images from that station changed everything, Helen told the assembled delegates. "We showed the galaxy that some things are more important than trade profits or political convenience." In the 3 months since the rescue, humanity had become something unexpected: the galaxy's protector species. Dozens of worlds had reached out to human authorities, reporting their own missing children and asking for help. Admiral Katie Blake now commanded the Galactic Child Protection Force, a new organization that grew larger every week. What had started as a desperate rescue mission had become a permanent military alliance dedicated to ending child slavery across the galaxy. "We've located 17 more facilities like Omega-7, Katie reported to the Earth government. "Each one holds thousands of captured children from multiple species. We have the ships and personnel to shut them all down." The GCPF fleet had grown to over 300 vessels. Some were human warships, but many belonged to other species who had joined the cause. Every world that had lost children to slavers wanted to be part of the solution. Captain Ryan Mitchell, now promoted to admiral, led the GCPF's main battle fleet. His ship, still named the UES Vengeance, had become a symbol of hope across the galaxy. Children from dozens of species knew that if they were taken, Admiral Mitchell would come for them. Dr. Lisa Parker had published her landmark study, The Human Protection Response, just weeks after the rescue. The paper explained why humans reacted so strongly to threats against children, and why this reaction extended to all young beings, not just their own species. "Humans have something most species lack," she wrote. "They can extend their protective instincts to any creature they perceive as vulnerable. This makes them uniquely suited to be protectors in a galactic community." The study became required reading in diplomatic academies across the galaxy. For the first time, alien species began to understand human emotional responses and why they were actually strengths, not weaknesses. On New Eden Colony, life had slowly returned to normal. The 48 children taken by the Zalathi had all returned home, though they would need counseling for years to recover from their experience. Jake Murphy had built a memorial in the town square honoring all the children who had been rescued from slavery. "My daughter Lucy still has nightmares sometimes," he told a visiting reporter, "but she also knows that her daddy came for her. She knows that humans don't abandon their children no matter how far away they are. The memorial wasn't just for human children. It honored all 8,000 beings who had been freed from processing station Omega-7. Representatives from dozens of species had visited New Eden to see where the Galactic child protection movement had begun. Ben Carter's manufacturing empire had become the primary supplier for the GCPF. His factories on Mars worked around the clock producing ships, weapons, and supplies for rescue missions. But Ben had also done something else. He had started the Galactic Children's Fund, which provided support for rescued children and their families. Every child deserves a safe home and a loving family, Ben announced when he donated his first 1 billion credits to the fund. If their own families are gone, then we'll help them find new ones. The fund had grown to include donations from hundreds of worlds. Species that had never cooperated before were working together to care for rescued children. Dr. Patricia Davis had established trauma treatment centers on 12 different worlds. These facilities specialized in helping young beings recover from the psychological damage of enslavement. Her staff included counselors from many different species, all trained to understand the specific needs of traumatized children. The healing process is slow, Patricia explained to a gathering of alien medical professionals, but children are remarkably resilient. With proper care and support, most of them can recover and live normal lives. Commander Vexthar, the former Zalathi slaver, had become an unexpected ally in the fight against child trafficking. Facing life imprisonment for his crimes, he had chosen instead to cooperate with human authorities. "I was wrong about humans," he admitted during a public testimony broadcast across the galaxy. "We thought their emotional bonds were weakness. We didn't understand that these bonds make them the strongest protectors in the galaxy." Vexthar's testimony helped human investigators locate and shut down dozens of other slavery operations. His insider knowledge of the Zalathi trade networks proved invaluable in tracking down missing children. The Zalathi government, faced with the complete destruction of their slavery-based economy and growing pressure from other galactic powers, had formally surrendered and agreed to pay massive reparations to the victims of their crimes. Ambassador Helen Foster's diplomatic work had been crucial in building the coalition that supported the new child protection laws. She had spent months traveling to different worlds, convincing alien governments to support the accords. Some species initially resisted, she explained to the Earth Parliament. They were concerned about human dominance in galactic affairs. But when they saw the footage of our soldiers protecting alien children, their attitudes changed. The signing ceremony on Earth was broadcast live to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Jake Murphy stood beside his daughter Lucy as representatives from 200 species formally agreed to the new laws. The accords were simple but revolutionary. No being under the age of maturity for their species could be taken from their families for any commercial purpose. Any violation would be met with immediate military response from the GCPF. "Today we declare that childhood is sacred," Admiral Katie Blake announced as she signed the document. "Today we promise that no child in this galaxy will ever again be abandoned to slavers." Mary Clark, the technician who had hacked into processing station Omega-7, had been promoted to head of the GCPF's intelligence division. Her computer skills were now used to track down slavery operations before they could harm more children. "We've learned to think like the slavers," she explained to her team. "We know their routes, their methods, their targets. Now we're always one step ahead of them." The intelligence network she had built included informants from dozens of species. Former victims, reformed criminals, and ordinary citizens all contributed information that helped protect children across the galaxy. Carlos Martinez's weapon modifications had been shared freely with all GCPF member species. The technology that had helped humans defeat the Zalathi was now used by dozens of different military forces. "The goal isn't to give humans an advantage," Carlos explained to alien engineers studying his designs. "The goal is to make sure every species can protect their children effectively." As the signing ceremony concluded, Jake Murphy was asked to give a final speech representing all the families who had lost children to slavers. "3 months ago, aliens came to our peaceful world and stole our children," he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the galaxy. "They thought we would accept this loss and move on. They were wrong. Today, we send a message to anyone who would harm children anywhere in the galaxy. We will find you. We will stop you. And we will make sure you never hurt another child again. The humans have a saying, Jake continued, looking directly into the camera. It takes a village to raise a child. Today we extend that village to include the entire galaxy. Every child, regardless of species, is under our protection now. As the ceremony ended and the representatives began to leave, Admiral Ryan Mitchell received an urgent message from one of his patrol fleets. Another slavery operation had been discovered in a distant system. Admiral, we've found them, reported Captain Steve Johnson from his ship. 57 children from 6 different species. The slavers never saw us coming, Ryan smiled grimly. Bring them home, Captain. All of them. In the months and years that followed, the GCPF would conduct hundreds more rescue missions. Some would be easy victories against unprepared criminals. Others would be desperate battles against heavily armed trafficking organizations. But the message was always the same. Touch a child, and humanity will come for you. And they won't come alone. Dr. Lisa Parker's prediction had proven correct. Humans had become the galaxy's protectors, not through conquest or intimidation, but through their willingness to extend their protective instincts to all vulnerable beings. The aliens had wanted to harvest human children as a convenient source of labor. Instead, they had awakened something far more powerful, a species that would fight to the death for any child, anywhere in the galaxy. And as Lucy Murphy grew up on New Eden Colony, safe and loved and protected, she would always remember that when she needed rescue, the entire human race had come to save her. The galaxy had learned that some bonds cannot be broken, some